stepping out of my own comfort zone, learning a lot of new stuff. But people are happier when they're productive. And he says that luxury isn't what you put on for other people, it's how you live every single day. So I think it's time for parents to discover their kids. And I think it's time for kids to also get to know their parents.
COVID 19 brought in unusual, difficult, and challenging times for all of us. While technology is driving our work forward, domestic duties are keeping us busy. This initiative is to learn from various people what COVID 19 did to them. And in this video, I am looking forward to gain some golden nuggets from Gulraj Shahpuri on leadership, parenting, and managing teams during COVID 19.
Hi, Ankita, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Wonderful.
So this is basically I have been interviewing people on what COVID-19 did to them. So the
Yeah.
idea is that everybody has been impacted in a different way, personally and professionally. Because you're a business coach, you are a leadership trainer, you're a
Hanji.
consultant. I will come back to all of these things later in the
Okay.
conversation. But I want to begin by asking that we are in lockdown 4.0, and
Yeah.
it's been more than 2 months now that the COVID situation has been there,
Yeah.
and we have been practicing social distancing. So what has the last 2 months been for you, personally and professionally? That's the first thing I want to
No,
know.
no, thank you. So it last couple of months have been very busy. Now, in two things. Firstly, getting hang of all the new stuff. That's been one big deal. And secondly, because and I'll tell you about that. All this Zoom calling stuff and all this. This is new, even though we as trainers and coaches have been doing this. But it was a one-off thing. It was kabhi kabhi, and it was when a client said, you know what, we're going to get a couple of people on a Zoom call. So I would be doing a normal training, and there would be 2 3 people on a Zoom call, or would put them up on a big screen, and that was nice. It was a hybrid model. Now imagine doing this every single day. This has been exciting. It's been a lot of fun. And a lot of people say, well, you don't need to get as dressed up. I have to get as dressed up. Why? That's just me. I get as dressed up. I might not be wearing shoes all the time, but I'll still be wearing socks. And I'll be, because sometimes it's just more comfortable just to kick off the shoes and relax a little bit. But I also do that in my own office anyways. So that's the one thing. The other thing is stepping out of my own comfort zone, learning a lot of new stuff. That has been a big deal. And the big learning for me in new stuff has been telecommuting, not how I deliver my one-to-one talks or how I deliver my talks to a group of people. It's actually been how I'm managing my own staff and managing my clients and stuff like that. That has been a big deal because imagine a person like me who was always doing one-to-one sessions face to face. Now I'm doing them with staff and sorry with my clients through a Zoom call, and usually my assistant would be sitting next to my client, and I would be looking at the client, and we'd be talking, and we would kind of ignore him so that he blends into the background. We can have a heart to heart talk. Now all three of us are on the Zoom call. Somebody's taking notes, somebody's talking about these things. But it's exciting. The second learning it's been for me is the letting go of control, because I'm a big traditionalist. Honestly, I'll tell you, I'm very old school about things. So पहले तो क्या था कि all my staff were coming to the office and they were all reporting, and we manage a lot of rental properties and real estate and stuff like that. And then when somebody said, you know, I'll work from home today, I said, I don't believe in work from home. You know, Yahoo tried it, it didn't work. Facebook tried it, it didn't work. So I don't believe in work from home. One off kabhi kabhi, but I'm not, because I would have my own staff saying, okay, sir, you know, I'll work from home from this coming month. I said, no, you won't. And they'd be like, well, what kind of old age, stone age guy is this? Now, I'm the biggest fan of working from home. But mind you, because technology has played a big part in this. And Ankita, you'll say, obviously, technology's played a big part in this. Work from home means telecommuting and stuff like that. No, I mean, also, if we go above and beyond that, a lot of the software that helps me control my fears, that, you know, if you remember, we talked about disc profiling the last time we were together, we were sitting together. And I said in disc profiling, I'm a very high, I fall in the C quadrant, that I am a person that is very conscientious, and I take care of every little bit, and I have to make sure we're hitting all the right things in each and everything. वो work from home में ना मेरे mind में नहीं हो पा रहा था, क्योंकि I said, well, what if somebody's lazing around, or what if somebody's not doing this, what if somebody's not doing that? And then somebody else would say, Raji, आपको तो आम खाने से मतलब होना चाहिए ना कि end में result आए, so that should be enough, right? And I said, no, but that's not it. So I think I found that peace with myself कि yes, result आ रहा है तो ठीक है. But I also know that these things are deceptive. My favorite food, I love McDonald's. Honestly, I love McDonald's. My wife को छोड़ दूंगा, McDonald's नहीं छोड़ूंगा कभी. And I'm a vegetarian, so I have a very limited taste, very limited choices from there. Now, imagine if you eat McDonald's every single day, dinner and lunch. On the first day, it's not like you're going to die, right? Not even on the second day. But after 6 months, your body will start to say, "You look at the results, bloody look at the blood test. You're dying here, right?" And that happens. Similarly, with employees that are cutting corners and goofing around and sleeping a little bit in the middle of the day when they're working from home, आपको उनका result immediately दिखेगा नहीं. Don't get faked out. Don't get faked out, because no complaints doesn't mean no problems. So I believe it is still important to make sure people are on their toes. So technology has really been a big helper in this. Programs like Time Doctor and programs like, there's so many of them that help us work from home and make sure that people are on their toes, because then people are happier. And you might say, okay, well, Gulraj, how can people be happier if you're watching over them using software technology? Well, people are happier when they're productive.
So I think that you're talking about, working from home. I totally resonate with the same ideas. For me, work from home has never been a good idea. And even as a solopreneur, I always wanted a working space for myself. It could be a different room in the same house. It could be in the basement. It could be a proper working space. But there has to be a proper place wherein you sort of sit and work. And I think it has to do with discipline, and routines have been they have sort of taken a negative connotation in today's world. People associated with boredom and boring lifestyles and things like that. But I think these are the things that sort of energize the people.
That's all you millennials. Trust me, people my age, disciplines, routines don't mean boredom. They mean predictability and guaranteed results.
Trust me when I say these things. I get I feel like an outlier in my own generation, because then people start telling me that you have grown old at a very early age.
Just say that Gulraj Shahpuri says I'm wise beyond my years. That's what you are.
And I totally agree that you said you've been dressing every day. I remember a few days back, I was getting ready for a webinar. Okay, and of course, I mean, what ready can you get for a webinar? But I was just and my husband was sitting right there, and I applied perfume, and he said, "I hope you realize
I did too. I
said, "But I need to feel fresh. I'm going there. People are going to see me. So it's for me. It's not for anybody else."
My friend Ashmit Alag, he's one of the leading designers of India, and he talks a lot about luxury. And he says that luxury isn't what you put on for other people. It's how you live every single day. So imagine that every single day, even for working from home, when even our maids weren't here, when the lockdown was more severe about a month ago, and we had no maids or servants or anybody, even in those days, we used to still have meals, even though it was just me, my wife, and my daughter sitting at the dining table. We would still lay out the table perfectly, with all the spoon bhi honi chahiye, fork bhi honi chahiye, knife bhi honi chahiye, napkin bhi honi chahiye, everything like that. Because you know what? It's what you do for yourself. It's when you do what you do when nobody's watching, and that's when you're living life large, right? So it's one of those things. Good for you. Kudos to you for wearing perfume.
Thank you. Coming back to the thing that your professional front, because you're a leadership trainer,
Yeah.
And these are the times where everything is getting redefined. So how do you think the leadership is getting redefined, and are there probably leadership skills that were down on the bottom list which you feel now are going to come up, and that is something which leaders need to start working upon?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for asking that. One of the things that I've been encouraging a lot of company owners to do is have a larger base of whom they're communicating with, right? Because we have the technology to do it. Now, ab socho, okay, if I was traditionally going to the office, I don't have time to meet more than my 2 or 3 or 4 key HODs, right? But if I'm on a Zoom call, I can meet a whole lot of people so long as I keep the call short. I can meet a whole lot of people face to face. Now, one might say, but Guraj, wo to duri nahi hogi, I mean, it's not as real, but I beg to differ. Because if I go to, let's say my company is large enough that I have an auditorium and people are sitting in the auditorium and I'm standing on stage, wo connect na, they might feel connected to me, but I'm actually not connected to them. Why? Because I'm sitting behind a podium and there's lights on me and I can barely see who I'm looking at. Whereas on Zoom, if we put on the gallery view, we see everybody like a checkered board. We see everybody, and I feel close to everybody in that meeting when people are talking, right? So I think that has helped. So one, have a larger base of people that you talk to. Secondly, do it more frequently because it doesn't take much to come on a Zoom call. Suppose if somebody says, yes, every day 9 baje and 5 baje, we're going to get on a Zoom call together, everybody in the company. And even though the HOD is taking the reporting, but me as the head of the company, I'm still sitting in on it and I'm still enjoying those things, right? And I'm still able to jump in. So I think that's important. Third thing is that motivation is harder to do. Motivation is harder to do when there are barriers to communication. Now, let's be honest here, face to face is the best in most things, but not everything, because it has the least barriers to communication. Then we have the phone that has certain barriers of communication because you can't see each other, right? And then you have things like Zoom calls and WebEx and stuff like that, where you can see and hear each other. That's fine. But motivation is the key, and a person like me that has a motivation cheat sheet, right? If you look at this here, I even have ki aaj kisko kya kehna hai, aaj kisko kya. Now I'm giving my secrets. If my own staff sees, I say acha sir ne formula banaya hua hai. Okay, but these things do matter, right? And when you do it this way, you don't forget the big and small things. I have a cheat sheet called 15 ways how to motivate your staff. And उस 15 में if I say okay आज इसके साथ कौन सी टेक्निक यूज करनी है, आज इसके साथ कौन सी करनी है, आज इसके साथ, I look at Ankita, I look at my list of 15, I said number 7 Ankita को आज कहना है, and number
What's
2
number
इसको
7?
आज, I'm just joking, I mean there's not घर में सब ठीक है कि नहीं, right? That's number 7.
Great, wonderful. So, but also these are times wherein a lot of corporate people, and especially HR leaders, HR managers, and of course business leaders would have to take tough calls and decisions in their
Yeah,
businesses.
yeah,
And this is where, a lot of people, especially HR people, suffer with cognitive dissonance that,
yeah.
they have to do that, but they don't really relate to that decisions personally. So, how do you think one can probably deal with the situation wisely?
So when you're saying cognitive dissonance, I think that is super, super important. I think you've talked about something that is really, really gold. I was sitting with one of the HR heads of a company that is massive, massive. They have 50,000 employees worldwide. And the person I was sitting with was the group HR chairman, right? Was the head of HR globally. So globally, and of that group, not just of the key company she concentrates on. And we had a little bit of talk on this topic here, but you see, it's when everybody knows the bad news together, when all the heads of the companies are in tune with the bad news of what's going on. And honestly speaking, the COVID bad news has just begun. We know, okay, 3 months from now it's going to become really, really bad, and we're going to peak out by around October, November. We're going to peak out, and then we're going to start coming down, and then hopefully by March, April next year, vaccine aa chuki hoegi. Why aren't people telling this to the companies? Why aren't HR heads being told this? Why aren't HR heads who know this telling the staff this? Why is everybody talking about good news? Why is everybody lying about good news? Why aren't people telling the truth? They're not kids. We're not talking about children here. We're talking about grown adults and need to know how it is. If a leader can take everybody on board and tell them, okay, look, this is the bad news. Here's the planning we're going to do, and here's how we're going to make the best of it. Right. Now, the thing that the leader cannot say is, look, there's going to be a lot of job shedding. The thing the leader can say is, guys, there's going to be a lot of job shedding, or we're going to do a lot of cost shedding. So let's not do job shedding. We're going to do cost shedding. We're going to collectively have to take a pay cut, including myself. And let's be real here, because situation abhi और worse hone wali hai. Right? And they won't look like a pessimist. Honestly speaking, if you're able to talk science, and everybody who knows me knows I'm not a pessimist. If I have two rupees left in my pocket, I'm going to probably go spend it on buying maybe putting it towards a new wallet. कि एक दिन तो पैसे आएंगे ना मेरे पास, right? So I'm very optimistic. I'm the most hopeful person. I'm mistakenly optimistic. But let's be realistic here. I'm also a man of science, and I understand how pandemics work.
You are a parent yourself, and I remember you talking about that before you actually got into business coaching. You had started one of the largest initiatives in education sector. I believe it was called Promise.
Promise Life Skills and Leadership.
Yes. So now this is a situation which is very difficult and challenging for the kids also. What skills should children be raised with in today's time, so that their stress levels can also be maintained? Because the ones who are in the senior classes, they're more worried about their college years, about their careers, about their entrance, and the younger ones, they don't know what is happening.
Yeah. So there are 2-3 aspects of this. Firstly, kids are quite resilient. Okay, they will bounce back sooner than we adults do. Okay, so don't worry about that. The other is that this is a lonely time. This is a lonely time, and for those that are susceptible to loneliness and feeling isolated, social isolation does bug them, and those that have a tendency to actually go towards depression. I think parents need to be very mindful of that and spend a lot of time with doing family bonding activities and stuff like that. Now, एक चीज आप याद करो कि in the 80s, kids that were 80s kids and 70s kids, they actually don't face depression like the kids that are 90s and 2000 kids and 2010 kids will. Now, the reason for this is because what we are used to. The new normal here in COVID is lockdown when you're spending a lot of time with family. Now, spending that family time can be actually quite an involving family time. Now, अब देखो हमारे maid servants वापस आ गए हैं. Then my daughter is in her room, my wife is in another room, and I'm in another room. We all have our home study offices, right? But when the maids weren't here, one person was at the dining table, one person was in the kitchen, and the third one was doing something or another. So I think people need to go back to basics. People need to remember those times in the 80s jab bijli jati thi and they used to go on the terrace and they used to hang out and maybe even sleep there at nights, right? But you need to go back to basics because there is a lot of enjoyment. I think it's time for parents to discover their kids. And I think it's time for kids to also get to know their parents and get to do goofy stuff with them.
So much.
Oh, wonderful. So Ankita, it's been so nice that you made this effort and connected. It's what an honor